Today we're looking at a project called Aqua Health Twin. Its goal is to completely change our approach to water safety by learning how to predict a crisis before it even has a chance to start.
So let's start with a big question. What if we could actually see a water contamination event coming, days, maybe even weeks in advance? It would mean shifting from just reacting to sickness to actively preventing it in the first place. That single question is the whole driving force here.
To get why this kind of prediction is so needed, we first have to talk about a hidden threat that's lurking in our water systems: sediment. And the danger here isn't just about water looking dirty. It's about what that sediment is carrying with it.
Sediment contamination happens when these tiny particles of soil and organic matter wash into our waterways. The critical thing to understand is that these particles aren't inert. They act like microscopic magnets, attracting and then transporting all sorts of dangerous pollutants throughout the entire water supply. And the list of threats that can cling to these particles is alarming. We're talking about pathogens that can make you sick almost immediately, heavy metals that cause long-term neurological damage, and even persistent organic pollutants that build up in the food chain for years. So this one problem, sediment, sets off a whole cascade of crises. The contamination it spreads creates a devastating chain reaction that hurts our health, threatens our food, and can destabilize entire ecosystems. The most immediate impact, of course, is on our health. When something like a heavy storm stirs up these contaminated sediments, they release their toxic payload right into the water that people rely on every single day.
And this leads to some very specific and severe health problems. Sudden outbreaks of gastroenteritis can completely overwhelm local hospitals. For children, even low-level chronic exposure can stunt their growth and lead to malnutrition. Then, over the long term, those heavy metals contribute to kidney damage, neurological disorders, and even higher cancer rates in a community.
The cost in human life is staggering. Around the world, about 525,000 children under the age of 5 die every year from diarrhea-related diseases. Now, while contaminated sediment isn't the only cause, this number shows just how vulnerable our youngest populations are to unsafe water. And this crisis doesn't stop with our drinking water. It flows directly into our food supply, and it has the power to undermine our entire agricultural system. Think about it. Contaminated irrigation water can lead to crop failures or produce that's just not safe to eat. Livestock that drink from these polluted sources can develop organ damage, which in turn can trigger pathogen outbreaks like E. coli. This whole chain reaction threatens regional food security and can push communities toward malnutrition. So, if the problem is this bad, why haven't we fixed it? Well, the answer is in our approach. For decades, we've been stuck in a reactive mode, always playing catch-up, always one step behind the contamination itself. And the situation is only projected to get worse. As climate change brings more intense rainfall, we're facing a future with more frequent turbidity crises, a critical loss of our water storage capacity, and rising rates of waterborne disease. This is not some distant problem, this is an escalating emergency. This quote just captures the failure of our current system perfectly. We monitor our water, sure, but we often only confirm there's a problem after people are already getting sick. We're managing crises instead of preventing them. And in this reactive cycle, we're always losing ground. This is exactly why we need a new way of thinking, a new paradigm. The solution being developed to finally break this cycle is a project called Aqua Health Twin. At the core of this project is a technology called a digital twin. The easiest way to think about it is as a virtual, living replica of a physical water system, like an entire river basin. This virtual model allows us to run simulations, test what-if scenarios, and, most importantly, predict how the real-world system is going to behave. The whole process is designed to flip the script from reaction to prevention. It starts by collecting huge amounts of real-time data from all sorts of sources. An AI engine then sifts through all that information to forecast potential contamination events. This generates early warnings for authorities, who can then take proactive steps, like shutting off a water intake or issuing a public health advisory before anyone is harmed. The crisis is averted.
So what makes this digital twin so effective? It's the combination of two powerful components: advanced artificial intelligence and the indispensable input from people who are right there on the ground. A human analyst simply cannot keep track of all these changing variables in real time. To predict just the movement of sediment, you have to integrate constant data on rainfall, soil type, land use, water velocity. It's just too much. The same complexity applies to how pathogens attach to particles and the eventual risk to human health. This is a job that's tailor-made for AI, which can spot patterns across millions of data points that would be completely invisible to us. But the technology can't do it alone. The model needs what's called ground truth data, because satellites can't see everything. And that's where citizen science becomes absolutely essential. People living near these water sources can report things that a sensor would miss, like a new construction site causing erosion, or a strange pattern of health symptoms that seems to line up with water events. This data makes the predictive model that much smarter and far more accurate.
So the ultimate goal of this project is to achieve a massive shift in how we manage water and protect public health. It's all about moving from a constant state of reaction to one of prediction.
The difference between these two approaches is just night and day. We could go from responding to outbreaks to preventing them altogether, from finding out about contamination after people have been exposed to issuing warnings before it ever happens. Instead of just managing crises, we could start to avert them. That is the objective.
I'll leave you with a final thought to consider. If our rivers and reservoirs could actually speak, if they could warn us about the future that's hidden in their currents, what could we truly achieve? How many lives could we save? And how many communities could we protect?